So Sonic Movie 2 is coming out in... Wait, we're actually getting a sequel? Huh. It's really hard to talk about this movie without bringing up whatever the fuck that original design was. Ugh. The design was so bad, in fact, that Jeff Fowler, the director of the movie, decided to go back and change the entire design. They redesigned it from scratch. A few months later, the redesign was revealed to the world and fans loved it, and we appreciated Fowler for going back and redesigning the whole thing, because a lot of studios these days just don't give a fuck about the fans, and that's why I'm happy that Paramount actually gives a fuck. So I think I said enough about the backstory of this movie. Let's talk about the actual movie itself. Let's talk about the Sonic movie. So it's been 2 years since this movie released, and it was pretty well received, like critically and financially. Well, critically I don't know, but from the fans and from the audience, it was really well received. It was impressive at the time because a Sonic movie is really easy to fuck up. But the question is it still good 2 years later? And yeah, it really is. This is a fun and simple video game movie that fans of Sonic can enjoy. For starters, Ben Schwartz as Sonic the Hedgehog is really good. He portrays the character very accurately to the games, although he can act like a kid sometimes and can be annoying with his pop culture references, but it's fine, in my opinion. The scene with Sonic and Turtle shows off his personality very accurately to the games, and I love that. I thought his chemistry with James Marsden's character and the other human characters were pretty good. In fact, all the human characters are pretty good and feel realistic. Normally in movies like these, the human characters are usually like very terrible and feel so unrealistic. The Smurfs movies being a very good example of that. The best human character without a doubt is Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. In my opinion, he's the best part of the whole movie. This feels like good old 90s Jim Carrey at his prime. A lot of my favorite moments in this movie come from Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik. The way he interacts with characters is probably one of the funniest aspects of this movie. The characters he interacts with just like act so awkward when he's acting so goofy all the time. The pacing of this movie is pretty good too. It never felt all over the place. The pacing was consistent. What I like about the pacing even more is the fact that it's unironically fast-paced. The CGI in this movie is pretty good too. It's also pretty impressive to see how well done Sonic's animations are, given the time with what they needed to redesign Sonic and all that. Let's talk about some negatives though, because there certainly are some in the movie. First off, this movie is extremely cliched, to the point where that not all cliches were necessary. For example, there's a scene where Sonic is basically just really beat up, but Tom stands up for him and says, "But oh, he's my friend!" And then Sonic just gets supercharged immediately. In my opinion, they could have went with a cooler option, like if like Tom was gonna die, but then Sonic just gets like really pissed and then just immediately gets supercharged just to protect them. Junkie XL is a pretty good composer, but his score in this movie is pretty lame. His score sounds like it can go with any modern day superhero movie, to be honest. It's just very generic, bland, and boring. The best part about his score is the fact that Robotnik's theme is just a dramatic orchestrated version of his theme in the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. There's a subplot where Tom is accused of being a domestic terrorist. It's like all over the news, it's like this big thing, but all of a sudden it's just forgotten entirely. He's literally allowed inside buildings with no disguise on at all, and he shows a lady his ID, not a fake one, his real ID. And honestly, how this gets resolved is laughable. A government official just shows up on their doorstep and he says that, "Hey, forget about that terrorist thing, it never happened, it's fine." Which is just very stupid. This exact scene also leads into my next issue in this movie, the obscene use of product placement. Can't talk about the Sonic movie without mentioning Olive Garden. There's other obscene uses of product placement in this movie, but I just really don't want to talk about it, to be honest. Yeah, no. I wonder if I go up to Olive Garden right now, I could just tell them that I saw the Sonic movie and I could get something free. Yeah, I'm gonna go do that.
2 hours later.
That was a fucking scam. Despite all the negatives in this movie, I think the movie did its job. It pleased Sonic fans, including me, and it's certainly better than most video game movies, without a doubt. Which is kind of shocking because given Sonic's reputation throughout the past 2 decades, it's kind of shocking to see that he has one of the first good video game movies. Like I said before, a Sonic movie is really easy to fuck up, and I'm so happy that they didn't fuck up. Judging from the trailers, the sequel looks pretty awesome, and I'm so excited to see it. But I think I've said enough. I'm gonna go ahead and give this movie my rating. I'm gonna go ahead and give the Sonic the Hedgehog movie an 8 out of 10.